So, Marlo has given us her dream cast list, and it's making the news rounds. And, rightly so, because anytime someone is asked about what their dream cast would be, for whatever reason, it makes the news. So, we're going to talk about Marlo's dream cast, and then I'm going to do something a little different because I really kind of want to get into a discussion about why we're even having that discussion. So let's take things over to our friends over at Reality Chat. And so here, Marlo did an interview with E! News. And of course, one of the things that she is asked about is her dream cast, okay, for season 16. So let me give you guys the names of the people that she wants on the cast: Sonia, Sheree, Portia, Courtney, and Kenya. All right. And here's what she had to say about Candy.
I hate to say it. I'm okay with Candy not being there. I would.
So we don't really get, at least in this little clip right here, if she gives any more reasoning behind that. And to be quite honest with you, I cannot recall if Candy would have included her on her list of who she would choose to be on the show. What I do know is that both Sanya and Marlo would prefer for Candy to be off, or at least they wouldn't care if she wasn't there for this next season. For me, um, there's a couple of things that I want to talk about with regards to this topic. Okay. And, you know, one, is there a specific way that someone should answer this question? I.e., back when Nene was asked long ago, it sparked so much controversy and it left Cynthia feeling like Nene was basically trying to get her fired, right? And so when someone says that, you know, this is their dream cast and it excludes a someone that's already, still on the cast, it is kind of sometimes interpreted as, you know, I'm I don't really, I mean, I don't really care about them not getting that check no more. You know what I'm saying? And so one could argue that it is, trying to take food off the table, as we quote Cynthia from back when Nene said it about her. So that's number one. What's the best way to answer that question? How should one answer that question? Do you guys prefer honesty, or do you guys prefer a more politically correct answer because of the repercussions of what it could mean? And by that I mean taking food off the table, right? If we look at that being the impact down the line of a person not being there, that's essentially what it means. It may mean that they don't entertain you and you don't want them on your screen, but the impact is that's a check that's disappearing for them, right? That's a job that's gone. The next thing that I want to know from you guys is, because I'm going someplace with this, is I wonder why. Have you guys ever noticed that this is the only cast that usually seems to get this question? And it has maintained that stance throughout, I would say, the years ever since Nene was asked back in the day. And she said, well, Cynthia isn't really giving much. I think that's what she said. So, for whatever reason, it feels like, particularly now more than ever, it is of the utmost importance, and it is really highly discussed on so many levels what each of these ladies would say is their dream cast. And I think it's funny because why is it that this cast is always asked that question? What makes it so intriguing for this cast? Or is it that people feel like now this cast, it's widely known that is on not the best footing with casting, such that everyone is being asked what their opinions are, in order to fix or save this show? Is it that it's Atlanta and it was once top rated and now it's kind of maybe third? Why don't people ask about the other franchises? I mean, even Potomac, I don't really feel like I hear a lot of people ask, what's the ideal Potomac cast for you? I mean, there's literally like 7 to 8 women on there. So it's like, Atlanta always seems to only get 6. And why is that? Right. So that's another question that I would have to ask in general. Why is it always only 6 peaches? We've gone down to 5. I mean, season 13, but why we've never gotten 7 when so many other shows have 6 to 7, or in some cases have had 8 wives. The next thing that I want to really dive into is, regardless of who the ultimate cast is or who the cast is naming as the ultimate cast, there's really, truly, honestly, a large majority of the fan base that feels like, well, the solution would be simple. Bring in Portia. I think most people are 100% clear across the board. Not that I think that she can save the franchise or that it needs saving at this point, but I think that everybody recognizes that she would provide a breath of fresh air, comedy, as well as a family dynamic because she is married. All right. Or with partner, I should say. I think that's the more politically correct way to say that. Which I think the next thing that is probably very obvious, at least to me, is that you need a cast where, if we're going to showcase these, if you're going to call it Housewives, you're going to showcase, relationships, the best shows are typically the ones where the men are also involved. So, in order for the men to be involved, you need more men who are willing to show their lives on camera. So, to me, Ralph also makes Drew even more compelling because of their dynamic, because he's also vocal with the other men and with the women. So I think what we recognize is that the men on these shows can be equally, if not more, messy than the women, which is what people want to see these days. Some of the best seasons of Atlanta Housewives, the men were heavily involved. So you do need someone like a Portia to come in where the men can be involved, where there could potentially be couples trips, and that these people are really with the other person, right? And not to say that you can't have some of the single girls in there in as well, because that's the reality of life in relationships. You may be at different points at different times, and there's nothing wrong with showcasing that. And not everybody wants to be married or in a relationship, but can still make great television. All right. So, my final thought on this whole situation is that I'm not necessarily sure why, but to me, it is completely obvious what needs to happen in order to make this show absolutely great again. Would be, personally, capture what's going on with Kim Zolciak and Croy, and they have got to participate. No special favors or nothing like that. They got to be on equal footing with everybody else. I say we keep the current bunch. I would like to also add Portia, and I would also like to add Nene. Who you guys want to take away at this point um, is beyond me, but I'm keeping Kandi because I'm keeping Kandi the Todd Kandi dynamic. I'm keeping Drew Ralph because of the Drew Ralph dynamic. Portia Croy, I mean not Portia Croy, Portia Simon, Kim Croy. I'm including Nene because she's good TV. And I think going through circumstances in life has put her in a slightly different mental space. Heck, I might even keep Sonya if Ross is going to be more involved. And why not throw in Marlo to round out the chaos, right? Um, and I think we good. I would also bring in Latoya as a friend. Some of these things seem to be so obvious because we know as fans that they would cause the most chaos. But for whatever reason, it feels like the fans and the cast can say whatever they want to say. And for whatever reason, the network will choose to go in the complete opposite direction and give us what we didn't ask for, that we don't typically need, and that we don't usually want. And there's a wonder why the ratings aren't where they used to be. So, having said all of that, I wanted to walk you guys through my thinking on this question, where it typically goes, why it's typically asked of the ladies of Atlanta and not like hounded. Like, now I don't want to say hounded, but like I don't think the other casts are asked this question as often as Atlanta housewives. And I was curious as to why and why you think that might be the case. What do you think the ultimate cast is? And why don't you think that the network or the studio isn't really hearing the fans? So that's the reason why I wanted to have this ponderosa with you guys. Um, for me, it is late at night. I'm still packing for my flight. By the time you guys see this, it'll be morning. So hopefully, in my mind, I was thinking at least I would be giving content while I'm traveling. And it was something that was meaningful to me because when I saw this, I was like, it sent me down a long rabbit hole. And I was like, I need to walk this through with some of y'all because then I need to know what some of y'all think as well. All right. So, with that being said, of course, I will catch you all in the next video.